Welcome back. And in this episode, I wanted to talk to you about being a creator and having to take a public stance when we are talking about politics, social causes, crises. What do you do as a creator when there is so much pressure on you from your followers, from your subscribers to take a stance? And you don't want to take a stance because you're not an activist, you're not a political commentator, you don't usually speak about these issues. But now you see, because there is so much social media attention on these situations, causes, conflicts, you're feeling the pressure. What do? My completely neutral perspective on this is you should not. And this is why. So, welcome back. I am Sarina Hussein, somebody with 20 years of experience in public relations and digital communications. I've been a producer, podcaster, a consultant, a strategist, and I'm a creative and a creator myself. So I can sympathize, but not necessarily fully empathize, because you see, we are all different creators completely. Our subject matters differ, and our unique, our USP offering is going to differ as well. Even our followers are different, how they behave, why they're into us in the first place. It's like a relationship. What kind of a relationship do you have with your subscribers? Are you the kind of creator who is very transparent about your life and the things that you talk about and what you share? Because if that's the case, then it might be that you have been vocal about your values and they want to know a little bit more about that. If you've set the scene for them to want to learn more about where you stand with this, then you might have to. But let's just say you are a financial advisor, or you are like me and you talk about public relations and communications, then I don't know what value my public stance on sort of a conflict is going to have. What value does that have when I'm speaking about being in communications, considering communications, being in the media, commentary about the media and digital media and social media? So you have to sort of understand what is your lane, and it might be that there's a way for you to talk about it. So for instance, I'm speaking about it from the lens of a creator, not from the lens of a vlogger or somebody who shares their sort of intimate life on a daily basis. So you have to sort of find what your angle is going to be. What is your, let's say, unique perspective for this? Because remember, you are a content creator providing your unique perspective, and that's why people follow you and subscribe to you. So why would you suddenly pivot? Now, if you were to pivot because suddenly morally you feel it's necessary, then you have to accept that you're going to lose some. My hand's going down. Or you're going to gain some. You're going to lose some, you're going to gain some. You're going to have to accept this. This is going to be an inevitability, because as soon as you begin to take a stance on something that is emotionally charged, then you will most definitely lose some or gain some. The same sort of applies for podcasters, commentators who talk about controversial topics. You see, when they take a position, then they're going to lose some or gain some, or just gain a lot of people who sit in that sort of polarized position, because it can be quite polarizing and tribal online. It's completely factual and objective to state that online has become a tribal and, what did I just say? What was the word I just used? Polarizing place. So you have to pick a lane. And if you're not going to pick a lane, you're going to have broad appeal. So a lot of creators, and the ones I'm speaking to, are the ones with broader appeal, where the followers that you have will actually disagree on a lot of subjects, but they'll agree on their joint interest. And if that's the kind of broad appeal you have, then you're going to be doing yourself a pretty big disservice by suddenly taking a position on something where your followers, your supporters, do not necessarily request you to do so. It could be that you are a creator who provides content that's almost like a sanctuary for your followers. It's almost like it's a really safe space and it's where they get their fix. And you suddenly decide to bring in politics, social activism, world crises. What are you now doing with the loyal follower base, the community that you've established? You're taking away the thing from them that they relied on. Remember, they're not just relying on your content, they're relying on the space that you have created for them. So you don't want to jeopardize that. You don't want to sabotage all the great work that you've done. Am I saying, oh, it's more important for you to sort of conserve and preserve your bottom line, i.e. your money, your efforts, your work, your production, your content? Yes. That is exactly what I'm saying. And the reason why I'm saying this is not going to take away from your activism or from your morality, because not everything has to be in public and not everything has to be instant. Let's deal with these two things. Your activism, your commitment to change, to morality, to humankind, your humanitarian efforts do not have to be public. And if there's a demand for you to be public about it, well, that's bullying. You can do as you like in public and in private. The second thing, not everything has to be this instant. And I spoke about this on a podcast episode, The Critical Healer. And what I was saying was our activism and our efforts don't have to be demonstrable instantly. They don't have to be seen immediately on a feed or on a timeline. In fact, there is equal value in going behind the scenes, away from the lens, away from the camera, and working on your research, your study, behind the scenes. That is just as valuable activism as those on the front line and who are visible. You don't have to be visible with all your effort. It's okay to spend the next 6 months studying up on humanitarian crises around the world. It's okay to do your sort of history studies, your political studies, your medical studies, whatever it is that floats your boat, but actually is going to help you, empower you to provide that sort of something very unique that only you can provide. It's okay to focus on that behind the scenes and for it to not be visible. You are still doing your bit. You should not be under any pressure or be bullied to do something just because that's the thing that's most visible. And I think that's the really unfair thing that creators have to face. Like I said, unless you're the kind of creator who is very visible and those talking points, that brand sort of style, your messaging, all of it actually lends to you taking a public stance, then it's fine. If you're a corporate and you have a very wide consumer base and you're dealing with consumers who will care about your public stance, then yes, I believe you have a duty. This sort of falls under sort of your corporate social responsibility, maybe ESG. What does that acronym stand for again? Sustainability, something along those lines. But when you're a big entity and your consumer base cares a lot about this thing and it's actually going to affect them, then I would suggest that you do take some kind of a stance, or you do provide some kind of a statement and get a public relations person involved so that you can craft something that makes sense, that doesn't necessarily dismiss one side or the other if you need something quite neutral. but you have to be objective and you have to speak about facts. So I think, all in all, in summary, as a creator, you do have to navigate this public stance on social issues dilemma quite carefully. Remember, what's relevant today won't be tomorrow. What was relevant always suddenly becomes relevant now online. The whole time it was relevant offline, you were able to build your platform. The whole time your audience didn't ask any questions. As soon as something becomes relative and very visible, as soon as something becomes very, very relevant and visible, suddenly now your followers and your consumers and your audience demand that you take a stance. Did they not think about asking you that question where you stood with it when it wasn't so visible online, but it was going on offline for plenty of time? I think we should feel free as creators to challenge our followers and our audience and invite them into dialogue and conversation without needing to polarize anyone, without needing to create any kind of I would say, not toxic, but I would say without creating a space of continued polarization and tribalism. Oh, this is what I think, and it goes against what you think, and we should do that thing, which is just quite frankly ghastly. Agree to disagree. I really don't like that term because it's a shutdown. It's like, well, let's explore this without getting argumentative and in our egos about it. Let's have a critical think about it. Let's have a conversation that's quite open, and we don't actually have to find comfort in agreeing to disagreeing. Whoever agrees to disagree anyway? What that is you are essentially walking away feeling quite disgruntled and quite firm in your position. What we want to do is invite each other into a conversation where perhaps we get a little bit less fixed and a little bit less black and white, just so we can take in new information, deepen our understanding, and invite others to do the same. We should be encouraging our audience and our followers to try and enter into conversation and deepen understanding and the ability to take in new information that sort of challenges their assumptions. If anything, that's not happening enough. So I would love your thoughts on this. Again, let's take a neutral perspective and let's zoom out. And it's what I really, really advise when I'm dealing with clients or, at work, or sort of on a personal or professional micro to macro level, is let's just zoom out and sort of like consider things before acting or reacting. But thank you very much. I hope this was valuable to you. This is a new platform. At the moment, the name is Sarina Hussain Consulting because that's what I do, but it might be that I change the name just for it to reflect the content, and it doesn't have to be so on the nose. But thank you very much. I have got to head off now, but I will see you very soon in daily videos or weekly episodes.